What is up, my degenerates? It's Friday, baby. The undefeated post-weigh-in show. UFC 297. We watched those weigh-ins. We've broken these fights down forward and backward all week. We've talked about it a bunch of times. We've got our little MMA sphere on Twitter where we've gone over it with all of our friends. We've been in the DMs with everybody. And now here we are. We get to take all that info, watch these fighters size each other up and stare each other down, and then we look at the numbers one last time and try to put money in your pocket. This is the best damn MMA show betting around, bar none. And my people are here in the chat. What's up, everybody? We've got Joe Free. We've got Annoyed Squidward. Dylan in the house. I see everybody starting to roll on. Hit the like button for me. Let's get this pumped up. Melinda Lopez, I see you in the chat. What's up? All right, everybody. We're going to dive straight on into this because we got some good stuff to talk about. First fight of the evening, Jimmy Flick takes on Malcolm Gordon. Jimmy Flick came in at 126 pounds. Gordon has missed weight. I can't believe we didn't talk about this more. I was kicking myself. I've been chopping these fights up forward and backward all week, and I didn't even look at this thing and go, holy crap, they've got like 5 of the worst weight cutters in the history of the UFC, all on the same card. I should have expected this weekend was going to get super interesting. Never even thought about it, but here we are. Gordon misses weight, 127.5. He did require the box of shame. It's hard to tell with this guy. He's kind of decent size for the weight class. He's got that skinny, sucked out build. His cheekbones are always popping out. So I don't know if he really drained himself to get down or if he threw in the towel. I can't tell with this guy. It's a tough cut for him to wake. We know he's decent size for 125, and he failed on this one. This was a real intense stare down. These guys got right up into each other's faces. Flick went nose to nose. There really is no difference in height. That was one of the things. That's why this show is so important, because when we look at the numbers and the UFC stats, they lie. They don't update these numbers after just taking the fighters at their word for how tall they are. I used to tell people I was 6'1". I'm not. I'm 6 foot flat. These guys do the same damn thing. And because of that, you never exactly know until you see them actually standing right in front of each other. Flick is not shorter than Gordon. I thought Gordon was going to have a decent height advantage, a size advantage, and he just doesn't. He just doesn't. These guys are the same size. And Flick, let me be honest with you guys. So I'm a fan of Jimmy Flick, right? On Monday, I picked Gordon to win this fight at minus 115, by the way. And this number has since blown up. Gordon is now a minus 205 favorite. Everyone and their mom is all piling in here on the same side. At what point do you look at this and you go, damn, we got to look at the other side? Because the bookies thought that this was a pick'em. I thought that this was a pick'em. I was uncomfortable saying Jared Gordon would win this fight at a minus 110 number. And now we've got minus 205 and plus 170. Jimmy Flick looks like he's taken this fight extremely seriously. Now, that does not equate to victory. It doesn't mean he's good enough to win. It doesn't mean his chin is going to hold up in a firefight. It doesn't mean he's going to catch a sub. However, he has taken this fight far more seriously than the last couple. You know, he retired, he came back. He didn't really look like he took it all that serious. He got his ass beat. It was a whole thing. It looks like he's actually taken this one seriously, and you can tell by the condition that his body's in. By the way, conditioning helps your recoverability, and it helps you take shots. We've seen fighters who are in better shape. They just don't get knocked out quite as easily as they otherwise would. So I'm kind of scratching my head here, and I'm going, all right, we got the guy that missed weight. We got the guy taking the fight seriously. We've got everybody all on the same freaking side here, and the bookies have no problem moving this line and taking your Gordon money. I'm tempted to flip and pick Flick here, guys. I really am. It's a terrible low-level fight. I actually think it's going to be a banger. It's going to be fun. I think somebody's going to get finished. But trusting Gordon at minus 200 is filthy. It's absolutely disgusting. Don't do it. You don't have to go put your money on Jimmy Flick. I get not wanting to do that. But please, don't parlay up for thousands of dollars Malcolm Gordon. And I'm not trying to shame anybody or anything like that, but I had a guy reach out to me on social media today, and he said he was considering doing looking for a score, parlaying up something and laying a big chunk of money on it. And he had Malcolm Gordon in that parlay. Do not do that. This is a minus 110 fight. Never. Not Gordon. He could get touched on the chin and smoked. He can get his arm snapped in an instant after controlling the fight for 14 and a half minutes. Like, just no, this is not the guy you parlay. So be warned, not Gordon. I picked him to win on Monday. I guess, like, I'm teetering on flipping. I really am. I guess I'll still pick him to win, but it's razor thin, guys. Jimmy Flick has a big grappling edge, in my opinion. I thought Gordon was going to be bigger and stronger. Maybe he is physically stronger, but he's definitely not bigger. And the chins, I think the durability is somewhat even. Gordon might even have the worse chin than Flick. So, yeah, there's paths to victory here. I don't mind the under. Burner in here saying under 1.5. Don't mind that one bit. I would look under and stay the hell away from this kind of stuff. Detroit saying Monday. Yeah, I do a podcast. If this is your first time locating the show here, Detroit, I don't recognize your name, so I do apologize. You know, if you've changed it, I wouldn't know. I know the Lions are a big deal right now in the playoffs, so if you're usually somebody else, forgive me. But I do a podcast every single Monday right here on Pub Sports Radio. I break these fights down, take a first look at it, give you an in-depth analysis and opinion so you can use that info to bet. And then we circle back around on Fridays after getting all the information and watching everybody weigh in. So, okay. I see you. Sorry there, man. You know, the chat, if you're not a member and you don't talk regularly, then I don't necessarily see the names that roll through. So I do apologize. I'm sorry. We do get a lot, or we used to get a lot of names, and it's been a minute since I've seen some of these names in here. So I apologize, Detroit. No offense meant, although I'm rooting against you because Skol, baby. Go Vikings. I know we're out. We're fucked. Next up, you got Priscilla Cashua, who's taking on Jasmine Jasudavicius. Cashua came in at 133.5. Jazz weighed in at 133 as well. The story here is that Priscilla is a well-known damn cheater, and she has no problem eye gouging people to try to defend submissions that she has no idea how to get out of. She has no problem with fence grabs. She has no problem with low blows. This chick will do literally whatever it takes to get her hand raised. And even after all that, she usually doesn't win. She blew right on through her agreed weight here at 125. Folks, her job's on the line. Like, there's no way if Priscilla, she's being brought in to lose in Canada to Canada's biggest WMMA star. That's what this fight is. Do not get it twisted. And she said, I ain't cutting weight for that shit. Like, she's coming in here getting a notable advantage, not even bothering to drain herself, and she's going to swing for the fences. Now, I've got Jazz in a parlay. We linked Jazz up with Josh Van last week. So we're already sitting pretty here. I looked at this number and I said, Jazz should win. This is a setup fight, but I don't like laying minus 400 on women's MMA. So I parlayed her up with Josh Van last week. I've got 2.5 units at minus 125 on Jazz this week, and that feels a whole hell of a lot more comfortable to me. I'm picking her to win. I like her as a parlay piece. Neither woman struggled on the scales, obviously, because they both got the extra 8 or so pounds that they didn't originally need to cut. These two actually size up very well. Priscilla's big thing is that she's bigger and stronger than most of the women in this weight class, and she just kind of bullies people around the octagon. That's how she wins. She's the same size as Jazz. Jazz sizes up really, really well with her. She's another big body in there. Now, the problem for me, Jazz doesn't have great defense when it comes to her striking. And that could cause problems when you're dealing with the biggest power puncher in the weight class who didn't bother to cut weight. On the flip side of this thing, maybe Priscilla isn't cheating and maybe she's got, an injury. Maybe she couldn't run on the treadmill. Maybe it's lady issues. And even if she is just coming in here looking for that advantage and swings balls to the wall, going nuts in this fight, that could lead to her cardio death gassing and overextending herself and giving up easy takedowns for Jazz. So I still think Jazz wins. I've got a half unit on the Jasudavicius TKO prop. Now, I went over to Bet Online for this one because it's plus 650 over there. I saw plus 750 early in the week. They dropped it to plus 650. And I got to tell you guys, the U.S. markets always give you extra juice. They always come in and they're like, oh, you like that prop? Cool. We'll give you an extra $1 on it. Like DraftKings, FanDuel. It's always sexy to gamble on those two books over here. And it feels good to get better numbers on those books in the U.S. market. They didn't do that on this one. They opened this one up at plus 400 stateside. So they've got Jazz overseas with a nice, sexy, big, fat TKO prop. But stateside, they're like, no, 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 no. We're not playing that game. We're only going to give you 4-1. And DraftKings just moved that from plus 400 to plus 350. So that number is tanking. I've got plus 650 for a half unit. What I think happens in this fight is that Priscilla burns herself out trying to get an early finish. She can't defend takedowns. And the way Jazz aggressively passes her opponent, the way she aggressively gets her way to mount and then just lays out with elbows and ground and pound, it's hard to actually knock out Priscilla Cachoeira, but Jazz can do it with ground and pound. The referee eventually, I think, is going to have to step in and save this girl, and that's what I'm banking on. Now, at any point in time there, she could snatch a neck. This absolutely could go haywire where she grabs a sub, but I think the attitude is ground and pound, and the way Jazz has fought recently, it's strike first, sub later. So I think she's going to look for the ground and pound first and foremost. And as long as that's working, she's not going to stop it. I think the ref pulls her off. I'm taking the TKO prop. And I wouldn't mind it if you guys want to sprinkle the late ones too. So like if you wanted to do round 2, round 3, you get bigger numbers for those and they pay better. And I don't think it's going to be something that happens in round 1 just because, like I mentioned, Priscilla is hard to put away. She's going to have to chip at her, break her down, do this thing late. So I'm thinking round 2, 3, Jasmine, TKO. That is the look here. Ryan in the chat saying he's got 30 units on Dricus. I like it. Well, 15%. Clint, it will all, wait a second. AI will do better, Clint. It will remember and care about each of. I will do better. I'm sorry. I'm not understanding what that comment means. I do apologize. Let's see here. Zat saying Jazz is great on DK. I agree. If you're doing any kind of DFS, some solution, Jazz in the Canadian parlay. I like that as well. LF saying that he's planning on taking all the Canadians. And you know what? They swept the board last time. I don't think they're going to sweep the board this time because there's simply too many of them. I've actually bet against 1 or 2 of them myself. I don't think the Canadians are sweeping on Saturday, but I think most of them are being given very, very winnable fights. Ooh, Daniel, look at that. They're getting plus 850 on the TKO prop over there in the UK. Look at you go. You guys are getting better numbers on that one than we are. Good luck if you decide to tell me on that one. I'm excited for that fight. Next up, you've got Johan Lyness. He's taking on Sam Patterson. Lyness made 170.75. Patterson came in at 169.5. Honestly, both guys look fantastic. Johan, he's all tatted up. He's covered head to toe. So it's hard for me to really tell, what his body looks like, if it's sucked out, if he's built more or shredded more than he usually is. Can't really tell with him. Sam Patterson, on the other hand, this guy was sucking himself down to 155 pounds, looked emaciated, all shredded up, and that's all fine and dandy, but you could tell he was killing himself to make the weight. He looked fantastic today. He still had like a 12-pack of abs, so he has moved up to 170 pounds and looks like he has packed on some muscle and looks fantastic doing it. I love seeing Sam Patterson looking much healthier up a weight class. Patterson is still taller. I mentioned this in Monday's breakdown. He's moving up. At 27 years old, he's going from 155 to 170, and he's still the taller person up a weight class. Now, Johan, he's like getting in his face and trying to like bully and intimidate him. And props to Sam. No blinking, no backing up. These guys kind of had to be separated a little bit. There's some beef going into this one. It looks like some intense emotion going into this one. And I like everything I'm seeing here. I played 2 units on Sam Patterson at plus 130. Folks, I broke this one down. I'm a bit on an island here. I think the wrong guy is favored. Now, Johan Lyness, he's just bad. He's just bad. And we're talking about the Team Canada parlay. This is one of the guys that will let you down. I don't think Johan Lyness is any good. He has about 4.5 minutes worth of gas, and he's low volume. He bites down on the mouthpiece and swings for the fences, and that's literally it. That's his whole game plan. He does not have any grappling to speak of, and I think Sam Patterson can take advantage of all those things. I think Sam Patterson is better at range, and as long as he doesn't get nuked on that chin here in the first 2 minutes of the fight, he's going to win. I think whether it's like a KO from just kind of kicking this guy to death at range, or whether, in my opinion, the smart plan would be to grapple this guy. We've seen him taken down and exposed on the mat before. Also, with the cardio concerns, there is nothing more exhausting than being underneath somebody who's got better cardio than you. You just want to curl up and cry because they are just like doing whatever they want. You're struggling to get oxygen in your lungs, and then they grab your neck, and you're like, oh, sweet Jesus, thank you. And you get your chance to tap out. I think that's going to be Johan Linus. Patterson by sub is the prediction. Patterson money line is something I've already bet, and I was really hoping we were going to get a better number here. Patterson by sub is only plus 300. I was really expecting with a kid that's, the underdog, not many people are looking at him. I thought we were going to get a better number than that. He'll definitely be in the sub special. So let's freaking go, Sam Patterson. And Detroit saying he better not let us down again. Hey, big difference here though, right? He was like minus 300 in his UFC debut. That's when he lets you down. He's plus 120 here. You don't really have to trust him all that much to take a shot on him at plus 120. I like a young kid with a height and reach advantage moving up a weight class. That's an angle I will take a shot at. Jillian Robertson, 115.75, matching 115.75 from Viana. Jillian always looks sucked out at 115 pounds. We know this. It doesn't affect her performance. She actually does really well in the cage and has a physical advantage over a lot of the women that she faces. So looked a little rough on the scale. Nice, big, pretty smile afterward. Fiery red hair. You love to see it. Let's go, Canada. Viana, though, she had no emotion or expression on her face whatsoever on the scales today. And that always makes me think that you're trying to keep your poker face on for like a tough weight cut. Now, nobody's happy on weigh-in day, right? Like all of them go through this shit. All of them struggle with it. It's not fun for anybody. But when you're up there and you look like you're going to throw up because it's everything you can take just to keep your face blank, I feel like that's the sign of like a really tough weight cut that you're just trying to get off that scale. You're just trying to take your picture and get off the damn stage. When they face off, Viana does have a slight height and reach advantage. Now, she's super tall and like super skinny, long, skinny legs, long, skinny arms. So height and reach advantage doesn't really bother me. In fact, I feel like that's something Jillian can use to just kind of topple her over. They went nose to nose. This was a great face-off. I do have Jillian in a parlay. I always worry a little bit about laying chalk with Jillian Robertson because she has been knocked out before. She has struggled, especially in the big cage, to like find her opponent, get the fight to the ground, things of that nature. That's always been a bit of a problem for her. I think she's got what it takes to get Viana down on the mat in this fight. Viana's been submitted more than once in the UFC already. This is a perfect fight for Jillian to take her down and really show out in Canada. However, I am looking at backing up that parlay with the under 2.5 on Jillian Robertson, Viana. I talked about this on Thursday when I did the total takedown, and this just makes sense because the times that we have seen Jillian finished or beaten, she's really been finished more often than not, right? Like she has lost a couple decisions to like stronger grapplers, but Viana is a proven finisher. She's got power in those hands. When she finishes people, it is nasty. Lead left hook, fast cross, big knees. So if Jillian gets caught with something, she absolutely could get sent to the shadow realm. And then on top of that, even though I don't expect Viana to be able to pull this off against, in my opinion, the stronger grappler, Jillian Robertson, Viana's got a lot of arm bars. She catches a lot of these ladies from bottom off of her back. And we know Jillian's going to hunt the takedown. We know Jillian's going to look for top position. So we will end up in a scramble, and whether Jillian catches her or she leaves her neck out a little too long or makes a mistake and gets her arm caught, I think there's finishing upside from both women. I think Jillian wins, but the under 2.5 is almost kind of a perfect hedge on that because I just don't see Viana winning a decision in this fight. If she's going to win, it's going to be a finish. And I think Jillian finishes also. So that's an easy under 2.5. I like that. I think that's probably going to get added to my card. And I think we see violence in that women's MMA fight. All right, everybody. We already have 120 live viewers. I love seeing you all here hanging out with me. I love seeing all your beautiful names in the chat. What's up, Floyd? I see you in there hanging out. My guy already in Canada for the fights. Everybody grab your tinfoil hats, hit the like button for me, and let's keep on going here. We've got Cidi taking on Taris. Names I have a hard time with. 135. Taris blew the weight limit yet again. 139.75. And he looked dejected, man. He was up there on the scale with like his hands on his hips. He looked bad today. Taveras is a guy that, I said this fight is like dog or pass from a betting perspective. It's running it back from Contender Series. Cidi knocked out Taveras in a weird situation where it was an early stoppage, but it looked to me like Taveras had been doing the best of the work in the fight up until that point. But here we go, where Cidi's getting run back as like a minus 180 favorite here. You've got plus 150 on Taveras, and I was tempted to take Taveras here, but I'm just going to stay away, guys. I really am. I mean, especially with the weight miss, it looks like he's a guy that has a hard time making this weight class. Unless I'm mistaken, he missed weight on Contender Series for that fight as well. So not going to put you in a favorable position with the UFC when you do that, especially when you do it more than once. But he does have heat in his hands. He does have fast hands. I love his check left hook, but I think that height and reach advantage of Cidi is something that caused him problems in the first fight, could cause him problems here again. I think this is a violent back and forth fight, and I don't really want any part of it betting wise. Lean dog or pass. I'm picking Taveras to go ahead and get the win. He seems like the guys that the UFC is maybe a bit more interested in. However, Cidi looks like the more professional of the two athletes. He looks like he's in a little bit better shape. He's got the height and reach advantage, and he made weight comfortably, being the bigger guy. So lots of different factors here. Cidi's way taller than him at the face-offs. So yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards like maybe I'm wrong. I think betting it's dog or pass, but I'm not putting my money on it. So please, this is the one fight where I've got like minimal confidence. Next to Flick and Gordon, this is probably number 2, the fight that I just have no freaking idea. Next up, Charles Jordane takes on Sean Woodson. Both guys made 145.5 pounds. Jordane, no problems. Had a big old smile on his face. He was relaxed up there, looking good, feeling good, enjoying himself. Sean Woodson, however, his color was off. He looked a little green up there, did not look happy. This guy's massive for the weight class. We know this is a really, really tough cut for Sean Woodson. Big size difference when these two face off. I mean, Jordane like barely clears the shoulder of Sean Woodson when they faced off. I do have Charles Jordane anchoring my Jillian Robertson parlay. It's a 2-leg parlay with those two for plus money. I locked it in earlier in the week, so the numbers were a little bit better. But that's where I've got this thing going. It's kind of one of those just win type of parlays where the numbers might be a little inflated, but I definitely think both of them get their hand raised. Sean Woodson is the kind of guy that a lot of people are buying into because of the size, because of the record, because of the height and reach, and I get that. But we've also seen him floored in the UFC. We've seen him submitted in the UFC. We've seen him broken in the UFC. He managed to fight his way back into a draw against one of the lowest IQ fighters we've ever seen. I don't buy into any of that. None of it. And he's 31 years old. So it's not like he's a 27, 28-year-old kid who's kind of still feeling it out and learning the ropes. No, this is a 31-year-old in your prime. You should be kind of rounding out. You should be making waves if you're ever going to be a contender or a prospect. And Charles Jordane, I know Mike Malot's on the card, but this kid feels like Canada's favorite son to me. This guy is a barn burner every single time he steps in there. And the biggest problem that I ever had with Charles Jordane was not the skill set, was not the finishing ability, was none of that. It was the IQ. He beat himself. Every single time in the octagon when Charles Jordane slipped up and had a problem, it was because he made stupid decisions and put himself in a bad spot. Not because his opponents took him out, but because he did it to his damn self. And I think he's learned from that finally. You've got Ricardo Ramos and Kron Gracie in back-to-back fights where he fought optimally. He did exactly what he needed to do to get his hand raised. I think we're finally seeing a maturing Charles Jordane. And I talked about the age for Woodson. Jordane's 28. So he is the young, dumb kid who can come out here and fight tooth and nail however he wants and learn the hard way a couple times. And he sure has done that. But I think he's finally starting to get it together. As he's headed into his prime, he's got a name, he's got recognition, people like him. I think this is Jordane's time, and I think he's going to beat the hell out of the legs of Sean Woodson. And if Woodson tries to grapple with this guy, Jordane's going to grab his neck. And we've seen that work on Woodson before. Jordane's got one of the tightest squeezes in the game. So I think Jordane's actually going to kind of beat Sean Woodson up on the feet. We've seen Sean Woodson slow down. We've seen him tire out. We've seen him react poorly to punches. None of that happens with Jordane. He cranks up the intensity the deeper the fight goes. He likes getting punched in the face. And when you start start to wilt, he goes even harder. So I think this is kind of a perfect fight where Woodson probably starts a little bit better, but Jordane just kind of breaks him over the course of the fight. I'm thinking a round 2, round 3 sub from Charles Air Jordane. So again, minus 205. Maybe it's a little bit of a steep price tag, but that's the side that I like, and he is anchoring my parlay. All right, next fight up. Garrett Armfield takes on Brad Katona. Armfield 135 and a quarter. Brad Katona made 136. No problems for Armfield. He looked good, a little bit lobster face up there on the scale today. Brad Katona, cheekbones popping out, gave a huge flex though. He looked great. He's a guy who's big and well built for the weight class, so no surprise he's a little sucked out on the scales. These two guys couldn't be more different. You've got calm, cool, collected GSP wannabe Brad Katona, and then you've got Garrett Armfield, who's screaming in the face of his opponent, like all fire, all emotion, wants to get in there and rip your head off. I like Katona in this spot. He's a minus 218 favorite, and I can understand why, the energetic and flashy Garrett Armfield is the side that you would want to take a look at. He is more aggressive. He does come after it a little bit more, and that can be a thing that wins you fights in MMA. He is only 27 years old, so I could see him, making improvements and rebounding. He came back strong after that loss to David Onama. But he took out Kazama in his last fight, a guy that I really don't think is UFC caliber at all. So that doesn't surprise me one bit. Now he's taking on a guy in Brad Katona that's going to do everything he can to find the hole in this guy's game and then just expose that hole. I like Brad Katona to get the win. It's probably by decision, but I also would not be surprised if Armfield exhausted himself and gave something up deeper in the fight. He's only been finished twice, and both times it was by submission. So I'm a little bit interested in Brad Katona by sub in this fight as well. But again, it would be like the late round props. It wouldn't be early. I do think it's another one where he paces himself, breaks his opponent, and then has an opportunity late to finish. Whether or not he takes it, that's up to him. Katona by decision at plus 110 is probably the way this thing really ends up going, but I wouldn't hate anybody for taking a shot at him looking to show out on Canadian soil. Oh, my guy, Dan Tom in the house. What's up, buddy? Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here with me, my guy. Love chatting MMA with Dan Tom. Make sure you check his stuff out as well. The guy knows what the hell he's talking about it. And a good start to 2024 for my boy, I might add. Coming off a big win over there. You love to see it. All right. Arnold Allen takes on Movsar Evloev. We've got Allen 145 and a half, Evloev 145 and 3/4. No problem for Allen. He's big for the weight class, so it's always impressive that he makes weight cleanly every time. Big and impressive flex. This guy's got a build on him. He really does. Movsar Evloev, however, puts that to shame. He is absolutely jacked. And he's got veins like Wolverine. I mean, this guy has got to be the nurse's favorite when he goes in for testing, because there's no way his veins look like the roll of quarters I stick in my pocket to make it look like I've got a big dick. That's how big the veins are on Movsar Evloev. He gave a massive flex on the scales today, and you can just see his muscles rippling up there. It's absolutely insane what he's done, moving from 135 to 145. Allen does have a decent little size advantage on him here. This was a very calm and respectful face off. This fight decides the next contender in this weight class, in my opinion, folks. You've got Allen, who's young and everyone's really hyped on him, and he ran into the ultimate gatekeeper in Max Holloway. If he rebounds by taking the O off of Evloev, he's going to be right back in the mix. Evloev, on the other hand, is looking to go 18-0. This kid is undefeated and a nasty grappler. If he ends up winning over Allen, that is impressive as hell, especially considering he's the smaller guy, especially considering he's a grappler first in this damage over control world that we live in these days. I have picked Movsar Evloev to win this fight. I'm having a very hard time with this line movement, though, because I don't like this number on Movsar Evloev. And you guys know me, right? Some people are just pick the winners. Doesn't matter the line. I don't care what it costs. Just tell me who wins. I am picking Movsar Evloev, but I would want to bet him at minus 130, maybe minus 140. This is a close fight. This is a disrespectful number to Arnold Allen. And he got up as high as minus 200, but what's happened since then? He peaked. All the money's coming in on Arnold Allen now. This line is dropping. And we've seen that Evloev can get hit on the feet. We've seen that he can be hurt. And Arnold Allen is a guy who's improved in the grappling. So Evloev really is going to have to put Allen down and keep him there as the smaller man. And that's a tall order. I've got a real tough time with this fight. Picking Evloev, not betting it. Evloev by decision is the prediction, but I don't hate anybody for taking a shot on Arnold Allen by knockout. This guy's got nasty power in his hands. He's a much more at-home individual in this weight class. He's much bigger than his opponent. He's a natural striker that even though he got his ass beat, he took round 5 off of Max Holloway when he finally decided to go for it. Imagine getting beaten up by Max Holloway for 20 minutes and then taking your shot to be a legend and win that fight by knockout and still having the gas, the energy, and the wherewithal to come out and land some big power shots on one of the greatest fighters the UFC's ever seen. That's a loss that, frankly, he didn't lose any stock on, in my opinion. So, yeah, if you want to take the dog shot on Arnold Allen, he's extremely live. I'm going to be looking at this fight probably from a live betting stance. I'm going to be watching for an opportunity if we see one to get in. And I took Movsar Evloev to be the champion of this weight class at 20-1 for just a sprinkle, just a little quarter unit, because I think that's basically a better number to parlay him beating Allen and then challenging for the title. I can hedge off on that number if he does get to the title shot, but I think he beats Allen on Saturday, and then I think his next fight is for the title as an undefeated fighter. If he keeps it, if he gets the belt, then obviously he's keeping it. So I'll be good to go there. But I can always hedge with whoever he ends up fighting if he does get to that title shot. That's the idea. What's up, Lonnie? I see you in the chat. How you freaking doing? Let's Dance likes Arnold Almighty. Yep. And spot on pick saying, yes, this is the motherfucker that had Ricky Simone. Yes, that is me. When you come on and you pick every single fight on the card, you're not always right. And that one did not age well for me. So Ricky Simone let me down big time. Next fight on the docket is Marc-Andre Barriel taking on Chris the Action Man Curtis. You've got Barriel 184.5, Chris Curtis 185.25. No issues for either guy. Chris Curtis very classically having fun up on the scale and doing his weigh-in pose that he likes to do. You love to see it. Very friendly face-off. Both guys enjoying themselves. They're both warriors that just want to get in there and bang it out. You know what I mean? Chris Curtis minus 185, Marc-Andre Barriel plus 160. I laid the wood on Chris Curtis, folks. Minus 166, 4.98 units to win 3. He is my favorite pick on the card. I love me some Chris Curtis here. Marc-Andre Barriel, he's getting a little long in the tooth. He's taken a whole lot of damage, and I actually think that the forced break that Chris Curtis has had to take recently is the best thing for him. He also deleted all his social media, so instead of fighting with all you trolls on the internet, he decided to focus on himself, his family, and his training camp, and I think that's going to work wonders for him. He's more skilled than Marc-Andre Barriel literally everywhere, and I know MAB is the hometown Canadian guy, but frankly, he's mid-tier in the UFC at best with wins over frauds. So I can't say much more about him than that. When these two go at it, you're going to see the difference in skill set striking with Chris Curtis. The only thing that concerns me in this fight is Marc-Andre Barriel, pinning Chris against the fence and Chris not being able to get off it. Because Marc-Andre Barriel simply does not have the skill set to do what Jack Hermanson did, which is dance around the outside and never let him touch you. He's a come forward type of guy. He's a car crash type of fighter. And that's exactly the kind of fighter that Chris Curtis needs to really look great. Every single time he's fought one of those guys, he's knocked him out. Rodolfo Vieira is really the only one that survived, and that's because he shifted gears and basically went into survival mode. Phil Hawes, KO. Brendan Allen, KO. Joaquin Buckley, KO. If it wasn't for the headbutt against Kelvin Gastelum, it looked like Chris Curtis was working his way back into that fight as well. I know people disagree with me, but round 2, round 3, Chris Curtis, that's where he shines. He always downloads in round 1. He always starts a little slow in round 1. So I am predicting a old-fashioned Chris Curtis round 2, round 3 knockout type of situation. Probably round 3. Let's be honest. Marc-Andre Barriel, even though he's been finished before, it's not like he's chinny. He's still a tough and gritty, durable type of dude. So probably round 3 if we're going to get anything as far as a finish goes. But I like Chris Curtis on the money line, and I like him a lot. All right. Everybody hit that like button for me. Let's go. Neil Magny takes on Mike Malott up next. We've got Magny 170.75, Mike Malott 170.5. Magny looked good You know, he's been taking short notice fights and stuff like that recently. He finally got like a full weight class or a full camp for this one and stuff like that. I think that's something that will absolutely do him wonders. And he's taking on Canada's own Mike Malott. And I have my doubts about Mike Malott. I don't know that he's the superstar the UFC is making him out to be. I don't know that his durability is what everybody kind of is making it out to be. He's a slick grappler. Don't get me wrong. He's an incredible striker. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know that he's built for war. I don't know that he's a guy that can get in there and bang it out with the best of the world and survive that. The Mickey Gall fight where he was getting touched up by a BJJ player, that's incredibly concerning to me. So I think this is a big, big test for Mike Malott. However, I also think Neil Magny might be shot. I think Neil Magny might just be out of gas. And we've seen him exposed, and I mean exposed on the ground. Mike Malott is a slick grappler. And one of the big pieces of the pie for me here is I expected Neil Magny to have his classic height and reach advantage. He's a huge dude in this weight class, and he's taller and longer than most of the people that he fights. Mike Malott's a big boy. They faced off, and Magny is just ever so slightly taller than him. There is not a big gap in size for these guys, and Malott looks like he's far more filled out physically. And you know what that means? That spells bad news for Neil Magny, because if Mike Malott wants to grapple, he's going to grapple. And Neil Magny's not going to be able to say shit about it. I think if this fight gets extended, Malott's fucked, because I don't know about his cardio and I don't know about his chin. So if he doesn't finish Neil Magny early, then I may live bet Neil Magny. I kind of ping pong back and forth all week on this about playing Magny pre-flop or waiting to bet him live. And I think I've settled back in to my original opinion, which is see if Magny survives round one. Because at the end of the day, I've rewatched the grappling exchanges that Mike Malott's had in the UFC, and I think he is fully capable of taking Neil Magny's neck in the first round if that's what he wants to do. And the intensity that this guy has brought all week and the way he's talked about finishing this guy all week, I think he knows exactly what he's got to get in there and do. I can pivot live and get a live bet in there on Magny if it looks like it's going his way in the second round or something like that. But I really think this is going to be a Mike Malott round one sub. Let's see. Power Structure asking what's wrong with over 2.5 Magny and Malott. Well, I just kind of answered that one a little bit, didn't I? The way Mike Malott fights, man, it's just, that's all it comes down to. He's fired out of a freaking cannon to start his fights. He hits really, really hard. And we've seen Neil Magny not really take getting hit the way that he used to. And he doesn't like leg kicks. And if this gets into a grappling exchange, I think Mike Malott is just so much faster and slicker than he is. And even though I've kind of shit on Johan Linus a little bit, I'm not a fan of the guy. I don't think he's very good. But the choke that Mike Malott hit on him, like, it wasn't even all the way in. And he was like quick tapping. Now, maybe that's because he just knew he was doomed. Like, they were former training partners. Maybe he just knew he was never getting out of there. But if you look at his face, it looks like his veins are about to pop out of his head. Mike Malott's got a hell of a squeeze on him. And if he puts that to work, I don't think Magny is escaping it. So yeah, I think this is going to be a round one Malott sub situation. And if you're betting the over 2.5, you're kind of expecting that Malott can't finish Magny, which I don't think is accurate. And then if it goes 15 minutes, Malott's going to have the better game plan to win a 15-minute fight. I also don't think that's accurate because Magny knows how to win 15-minute decisions. That's kind of how he's built his entire career. If it goes 15, I would expect Magny probably has a little bit of an edge over Mike Malott. So I think this finishes more often than not a lot quicker than that. You've only got plus 110 at this point too on Mike Malott to win by sub. Like, the bookies know what's up. The story is out on Neil Magny. He can be had on the ground. And Mike Malott round one sub is plus 240. Like, that's so gross. Like, they know so hard exactly what the UFC is doing here. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at here on this one. Co-main event, Raquel Pennington takes on Mayra Bueno Silva. Pennington 134.8, which is a weird number when they've been going by quarters, halves, and 3/4 the whole time. But okay, whatever, Canada. Mayra Bueno Silva 135 on the dot. No issues for my girl Rocky Pennington. No emotion on her face. You know, when she was walking out for the ceremonial face-off, she was talking about how, like, she belongs here and she deserves it and this is her time and her moment. And it's been a long time coming, man. I'm a fan of hers, and I really would love to see her win this fight and become a champion at the end of her career. But the fact is, I think it's new generation time. Mayra Bueno looked fantastic on the scales. She's slightly bigger than her opponent. This was an intense face-off. And I think that Mayra Bueno is just discount Nunez. Like, I really think that she's got big power that she can put to use. Her cardio concerns seem to be something that she has figured out, and the floor is lava. If she takes anybody down or this fight hits the ground for even a second, this girl is tapping anybody out. And one thing Raquel Pennington likes to do, very similarly to Holly Holm, is she tries to like bully and pin people up against the fence. Those front chokes, the Ninja Choke series is gonna be there for Mayra Bueno Silva in this fight, the same way it was against Holly Holm. I wouldn't be surprised if Chitara just catches her in something in a transition where she like flips her head from one side of the body to the other side of the body. I think it's Chitara time. And by the way, I talked about the futures a little earlier. I have a futures bet here at 4-1 for Mayra Bueno Silva to be the champion of this weight class at the end of the year. I felt like she beats Raquel Pennington on Saturday, and then what? Like, I think she also beats Juliana Pena. So 4-1, count me in. That's my biggest future bet that I made all year. I do think, my guy Dan Tom saying Chitara season, completely agree. Now on this one, I didn't catch the early number when it was like minus 130, minus 135. So I kind of felt like I missed the boat. She ended up exploding up to like a minus 175, minus 185 favorite. Since then, there's been a lot of love for Rocky Pennington coming in, and you can now get Mayra Bueno Silva a little bit lower. Superbook has her at like minus 155, minus 166 over on DraftKings. So depending on what you've got available to you, I may actually dive in money line on Chitara. Now, I know that this is like the public play. I know that this is the square bet of the week for Chitara to go ahead and be the one that gets her hand raised, because let's be real, the fans, the casual fans, they don't know who Raquel Pennington is, right? So this is going to be a very popular money line side, and the bookies are very much rooting for Raquel Pennington. A couple of sharp people who I know, whose opinions I respect, they're on Raquel Pennington. But the fact is, this is one of those ones where I think the public is right. You remember a couple of years ago when the Eagles were underdogs in every single game of the NFL playoffs, and it didn't matter. They won every single game and they won the championship, and the books took a bath because the public all year just hammered the Eagles every single game. That's what this feels like. Is yes, it's public. That doesn't matter. Chitara is the younger fighter. Chitara hits harder. She's got better finishing ability. She's hitting her own stride right now. Pennington's towards the end of her career. She's never quite gotten there as a champion. Anytime she's ever fought anybody champion caliber, she's lost that fight. Like, it all just lines up and makes sense to me. Mayra Bueno Silva for the win. My guy, Sean D, $1.99 dono. Thank you so much, saying Clintus Decimus Maximus. Let's roll, brother. I love it. We're going to have a big week this week, Sean. I can feel it. I kind of shit the bed on the first fight card of the year last week, and we're going to right the ship here at UFC 297. Love to see it. Oh, Jordan saying me and Brady are live at the same time. No, sorry, Brady. Shout out to my guy. I apologize. I'm almost done. I'll wrap it up so you guys can go support Brady. Gerald asking if he can buy the futures ticket off me. I think DK actually still has 4-1. Gerald, if you like that. And Superbook, they did move the number. They sent it down to plus 350. So if you want to get in on Chitara to be champion at the end of the year, that number is still out there. Main event time, everybody. Let's freaking go. Sean Strickland taking on Dricus Du Plessis. Strickland 184.75. Dricus came in at 184 on the dot. Both guys coming in nice and light here for this one. Sean Strickland was first to the scale, but I'll be honest with you guys. You know what? I'll come back to that. Dricus came in and he's like pointing at his abs and he's like, it was a tough cut, but this is what it looks like. And he's like flexing and he's feeling good about himself. He is amped up. He is excited for this opportunity. And Sean Strickland looked flat. He's always got some shit to say. He's always got some shit to talk. He came up there and just kind of like looked at the people taking pictures and then got off and walked away. There was no bravado. There was no shit talk. There was no nothing. Especially after that presser where Sean Strickland like ran his mouth and pissed off everybody. Tried to get the UFC canceled single-handedly. He had nothing to say today. And then when they get on stage for the face-offs, now Sean Strickland has never been a guy that takes the face-off seriously. Never. He always like looks away from his opponent. He doesn't do the stare you in the eyes things. He thinks it's gay. Okay, like that's Sean. It is what it is. Today, he wouldn't cross the stage. He stayed all the way across the stage from DP. And Dricus was like, come here. Like he wanted the championship stare down. And Sean took like 2 or 3 slow steps forward and then just kind of looked off to the side. I mean, he did not want to be there. Sean's given off a real weird energy for a guy who's supposed to be defending his title for the first time ever tomorrow. It's really odd to me that he's having this kind of almost, it feels like it's almost like an adrenaline dump. It's almost like he got it all out at the presser. And this is kind of the husk of Sean Strickland that's left over. Dricus is ready to go. Dricus is chomping at the bit. Dricus, also, if you listen to his interviews, by the way, championship mentality on that guy. I mean, like, pure focus. Pure, I'm doing this. Pure, this is my moment. He's a champion. The way he thinks of himself in his head. Whereas Sean is kind of done playing the goofball, and the only thing he has to say left at this stage is we're going to go fight. We're going to go fight. And that's fine. That's fine. But I'm just saying one guy wants to go out there and have a fun fight, and the other guy wants to go out there and win a fucking gold belt. And I think there's a huge mentality difference on that. Now, I bet Dricus earlier in the week, I got plus 114 on Dricus. I put 2 units on him. This is a ride or die spot for me. I've been betting Dricus every step of the way. I've been betting Dricus as a plus 300 underdog. I've been betting him as a plus 200 underdog. And every single time he has made money for me. This man is unstoppable. I cannot go against him now in the main event when I have said he's going to take that belt. I wanted to bet him against Israel Adesanya. And boy, howdy, would I have put more money on him against Israel Adesanya because I think he's a nightmare matchup for Israel Adesanya. This mental shift from Sean Strickland has me feeling like I need to put more money on Dricus. Not only that, but even with all of the market support, all of the social support for Sean Strickland and everything he's doing, this line is about to flip. Dricus isn't even plus money anymore. We're seeing minus 108s out there. So the plus money has completely dried up. And now this line is going to trend towards a pick'em and maybe even Dricus as a short favorite. I am extremely tempted to go back and put more money at a worse number on Dricus Du Plessis. And on top of that, I think he does what Dricus does. I think he's going to submit Sean Strickland, whether he clips him and hurts him on the feet or whether he somehow gets him to the floor and battles it out down there and catches him in a sub. Did you guys see the Shark Tank? And no, not ABC Shark Tank where people are trying to make money. I love that show, by the way. But the Shark Tank where it was BJJ black belts trying to grapple with Dricus Du Plessis. He tapped like 80% of them. That's not easy to do. Like this guy out-grappled fresh fighters who are high ranks, high caliber players, and he had no problem handling each and every one of them and finished most of them. This guy is a nasty submission fighter. I think it's Dricus all day. I love his finishing ability. I love his upside. I love his mentality. I think and new for UFC 297, baby. Let's go. Mayra Bueno Silva gets the belt. Dricus Du Plessis gets the belt. Let's freaking go. That is the Undefeated post weigh-in show, folks. Best damn show on the internet for MMA. Hit the like button for me on your way out. Make sure you sign up for Pub Sports Radio's free contest, giving away $100 for a pick'em, pubsportsradio.com. Follow me on Twitter. I'm doing a giveaway. The Gauntlet Week 2 is live. You had to have entered Week 1 to be eligible for Week 2 because you got to run the entire gauntlet. But hey, it's a fun contest where we're giving away $600 on bet openly. So if you missed this one, we will do it again. Be prepared once the Gauntlet 1 wraps up. We'll probably set up the Gauntlet 2 and you guys can have an opportunity to get the free money there at that point. Let's Dance says it's time for the man dance. 6-man saying Strickland, technical striker, DDP, crazy, wild eyes closed. several times in a fight. Yeah, that's true, but it works, man. It's effective. He catches people. TJ saying it's practice, bro. You can't put any weight on anything that happens in practice. I mean, yes and no. Like, black belts take it very, very personally when they get finished. Let me tell you, that's not a thing that they take lightly. You can lose a role in jiu-jitsu, but when you get to the rank of black belt, they really do their best not to get submitted. They'll lose, but they won't tap out. Charlie saying the bookies adjusted due to the fact that they have people in the gym watching Strickland. I don't know about that, but okay. I mean, maybe. I would just think that the more respected money is coming in on Sean Strickland, or the bookies themselves are positioning themselves to need Dricus. And I'm sorry, I said Sean Strickland. I meant Dricus. The bookies, believe it or not, do tend to pick a side. Speaking of which, I've got the Sharp Action Report right here on Pub Sports Radio. I talked to my guy with Andrew from Superbook, and he gave a view from across the counter. Let us know where the sharp action and notable action is on this card. If you guys want to know that info from Superbook, it's right here on Pub Sports Radio. Go check it out. That'll do it for me, folks. I'm going to lock in my final card. I will tweet out and I'll post on Instagram. I'll let you guys know where my final money is going into tomorrow. We're going to have a big day. It's going to be a fun fight night. It's going to be a great card. Lots of violence, and there's money to be made. Let's get it. Have a wonderful day, and let's roll.